Done. No.
Goosebump. I think it's clever. But no, my kid is driving me absolutely nuts with it. She wants to go see that new Taylor Swift movie. And I was like, isn't it like Life of a Showgirl? Like, isn't she like half naked or something in this thing? And she's like, well, but I love her. So, and I'm like, you're 16, child.
If I wanted to go somewhere and see a half naked woman with no tits and no ass, shit, I'd go to a local strip club on a Tuesday night.
Well, first of all, I'm not taking my 16-year-old daughter there. But like, how did I go so wrong that I raised a Swiftie? How did that happen?
It's karma for the eagle.
It's you know what I did. You know what it is I blame the genetic influence of her biological mother. That's what I blame.
Mean, that's fair. When in doubt, blame the other one.
Yes, I am pretty certain. What is this? Oh, that's where that went. I'm pretty certain that that her mother's influence somehow has ruined my daughter's capacity to like appreciate good music.
So like if she's in the car with you and you put on, say, Sabaton, she doesn't appreciate it?
Nope. She wants to listen to pop and pop country. And
you know what? Doesn't she live with your mom?
Yes.
I blame your mother.
Yeah. Oh, I blame my mother for many things. I blame my mother for many, many things. But yes, and then she was talking about how she wanted to go to California because she's got a friend out there and she wanted to go visit them. I said, you don't want to go to California. No. It's horrible. There's people crapping in the streets. There's used needles everywhere. There's tons of violent crime that they won't do anything about. There's drug cartels. You don't want to go to California. And she's like, well, but I want to see my friend. I said, you know what, kid, when you're 18, you can go to whatever drug cartel controlled third world hellhole that you decide that you want to, and I won't be able to stop you.
For now, I am your father and you are a minor. Guess what?
Yeah. And she goes, but it's for the plot, father. I said, yeah, the plot of a true crime show where you're the subject. You're supposed to watch those, not want to be the star.
You don't want to be the topic of an episode of the first 24, damn it.
Yeah, like they should not be inspired for an episode of Law & Order SVU by your life, okay? So, like, let's not aim for that.
The other thing that you should point out to her is she should be at least aware that if anything like that ever happened to her, it would eventually lead to the deaths of many people.
Many people.
Because I can think of at least a handful of people that would be, we would all be mounting up in a certain vehicle that holds at least 7.
Oh, she's got a phone number that I gave her when she was going to the Twin Cities with her friends because she was going to the Mall of America. And I gave her a specific phone number and I say, if anything happens and for whatever reason I can't answer, you call this number. Call this number, tell them exactly who you are and exactly what's going on. And trust me, things will happen. But do not call that number unless you really need it. That is a favor that I am owed that you will burn.
Yep. That is a in case of emergency, break glass.
Yes. But she does have a number where if she needs to call it, it doesn't matter where she is in the world. She's going to be okay.
And I feel bad for whoever's fucking with her. No, I don't.
Because I will then also get a phone call from that phone number and like, all right, you ready to mount up? Yes, I am.
I hope that in the event that phone call ever comes, and I pray that it never does, that your boy gets a call too.
Yeah, well, there will be a small army on the way in the event that phone number gets called. But I just told her like, hey, anything happens, like, you just need to call that phone number. Just call that phone number, say who your dad is, that you're my daughter, this is what's happening, and things will begin moving.
And it won't be long and you'll no longer be in that situation.
Yeah, you will no longer be in that situation. Neither will anyone else ever again because of the people who put you in that situation, because they will not be around. But now we're a few minutes in. Hello, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable Discussion. I use fantastic very loosely. Before we get started, let me remind you that we are covered by the BIPCAT, no government license that allows for the use and reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for government and the bludgies thereof. For more information on that, you can go to bipcot.org. That is BIPCOT.org. We're also covered by Brandenburg v. Ohio. 1969 Supreme Court decision that said that you cannot punish inflammatory speech until that speech is likely to and directed to inciting imminent lawless action. Everything we say here is for entertainment purposes only. No one takes this serious, and therefore...
So would a speech that would violate Brandenburg, would that be things like for 40 years calling your political opposition fascists?
I mean, not inherently.
But it dehumanizes to the point where people go, I mean, think about it from this perspective. If you right now had a time machine and you could go back to 1944, where you could get a clear shot at Hitler and you knew exactly.
Oh, by 1944, there's absolutely no way I would want to kill Hitler. In fact, the Allies went out of their way by 44 to stop plots to kill Adolf Hitler, because him still being in charge was shortening the war.
That's true.
He was terrible at it. He was really, really bad at it.
So let's go further back. Let's 40?
If you went to like, well, no, I mean, the problem is, right, like, it's Hitler's drive to invade the Soviet Union in Sommerblau, right, in 41. And that directly leads to the Germans basically losing the war by 42. Like, I've always maintained that the Nazis had already lost the war by 42 because of the invasion of the Soviet Union, which was at Hitler's behest. Right. I don't think, like, I would say, like, if there was a time you wanted to take Hitler out, it's before he actually rises to power. So you would want, like, right after he gets out of jail or right after the beer hall putsch, you'd want to just execute him then. And then at that point, he's just gone and he's just yet another failed, mastermind behind a coup. And he never builds the cult of personality that he does while he's in jail.
Let's say you go back in time to the morning after the night of the Long Knives.
I mean, by then he's already built his cult of personality. You'd make him a martyr.
Sure. But if you make him a martyr, I mean, at that point in time, you could severely hamper the German war machine because it hasn't really gotten off the ground at that point.
I mean, yeah, to a certain extent. By the time you get to the Night of Long Knives, a lot of things are already in motion, and chances are you wind up with, I mean, ideally at that point, Hermann Goering takes over, but chances are better that it's like Heinrich Himmler that winds up taking over. And if Himmler takes over, things might have been way, way worse. And unfortunately, Himmler was a fairly good strategist, so that probably would have gone poorly for the world. Okay. If Goering takes over, though, I mean, Goering's a buffoon, so that actually works out for the best. And really, if you can get Hitler out of the way before Rudolf Hess completely loses his mind, then you probably wind up with Hess in charge. And if you wind up with Hess in charge, the war is going to be very poorly executed and over relatively quickly. So that's kind of, there's a sweet spot somewhere in there.
Let's insert that. Let's say we hit that sweet spot. You're able to go back and put a bullet in Hitler's head. In light of recent events, let's say you have the opportunity to put a bullet through Hitler's carotid artery.
Well, because I know what he's going to do in the future, yes. But if I didn't know what was coming...
So in that regard,
But I
if
mean,
somebody had been calling a certain group of people, not necessarily saying one group or another, somebody had been calling a certain group of people Nazis, fascists.
I mean, calling somebody, first of all, one of the things that has driven me nuts with a lot of this rhetoric lately is that people are using fascist and Nazi interchangeably, which isn't true. Nazi stands for National Socialist, which, although adjacent to fascism, is not in fact fascism, and fascism is not Nazism. Also, fascism has nothing to do with like hatred of a group of people. That isn't a thing, even though like that's somehow bizarrely colloquially become what it gets used for. That isn't even what fascist means. A fascist is somebody who believes in fascism, which is best described as an economic principle of out of many one, where the government and private business are so intertwined that where one starts, the other one does as well. Basically, I mean, fascism is an economic system where nominally the means of production are owned by private individuals and run by private individuals, but their processes, planning, everything else are at the behest and control of government, and government's actions are ultimately at the behest and control of private businesses. And and it's kind of this Ouroboros kind of thing. That's fascism. So calling somebody a fascist is like an insult. I mean, well, yeah, I think fascism is stupid, is kind of a nonsensical thing in the first place. Calling them a Nazi, I mean, that Nazism is a different thing, right? National Socialism does involve hatred of people. It does involve xenophobia and things like that. So I could see if you call somebody a Nazi, well, really what they would be is they'd be neo-Nazis if they're anything. And having met neo-Nazis, they're stupid. The
vast majority of them, yes.
They are not bright individuals.
They can oftentimes be accused of lying through their tooth.
Yes, they're not bright people. But yeah, I mean, like the idea of like there's a lot of rhetoric from the American political left calling people on the American political quote unquote right fascists and Nazis. And well, they're not entirely wrong. There's an awful lot of fascism on the American political right. There's also a lot of fascism on the American political left. Actually, I mean, really, they just disagree who should be in charge of the fascist state is kind of the only real difference between the American political left and right. They're all freaking fascists. But the reason that people wanted to kill Hitler had nothing to do with whether or not he was a Nazi or whether or not he was a fascist. It had everything to do with what he was doing and what the Nazis themselves were doing, and actually demonstrably doing. I mean, even back like 39-40 is when the world kind of knows about the Holocaust already. They just don't really act on it. Nazis put out a bunch of propaganda where they pretend, oh, there's this, wonderful camp where all these people are just like, it's like a summer camp and they're all swimming and like they did actually build that camp and had some Jews there so that if members of the international community came, they could take them there and be like, see, look, and there's a lot of other camps and that's all we're doing with them. And a lot of morons buy that and think that that's what it was still, which is
overt propaganda. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's blatant propaganda. We know this. This is demonstrable history. It's verifiable. We know what was really going on with the Holocaust. That's why. But I mean, like, as far as to your point, where I think you're going with it is, rhetoric does dehumanize people and make people more likely to do things because they fear people. But I don't think that you can call that just saying this person is a fascist or this person is a Nazi or this person is a tyrant. Just saying that is not in and of itself punishable speech under Brandenburg.
But when you take those the words of that individual and you intentionally take certain things that individual has said and clip just this little snippet of this quote, so you have no context, you just have this one little bitty line. That's where the disingenuous dehumanization happens.
Yeah, but that's still not directed to and intended to incite imminent lawless action. That still wouldn't be punishable under Brandenburg. Nor should it be punishable, because I think the fact is that free speech covers not just speech that you like, it covers speech that you hate.
Corey.
And it also covers, most importantly, it covers speech that can potentially piss a lot of people off. It also covers lying. You know, as long as you're not actually outright defrauding someone and, you know, taking things away from them through the means of deception, you're perfectly allowed to do that. You can lie all you fucking want, because it's the freedom of speech. So like that's a protected right, and that's a protected right that should be protected. I mean, you know, famously, I think it actually was Charlie Kirk who said that there is no hate speech. You know, there's no hate speech in American law for a reason, because we have the First Amendment. There's ugly speech, and there's horrible speech, and there's speech that, you know, is disgusting, but that isn't hate speech, because hate speech is a legal definition. And that's the thing that America doesn't have, nor should it have, because such rhetoric is protected by the First Amendment and should be protected by the First Amendment. Don't forget, that was something that Charlie Kirk definitely stood on, was that you should be allowed to say really horrible shit.
Yeah.
Just fine. You're allowed, like, he was like, you know, I disagree with what you say. I hate what you say. You want to keep calling me a Nazi, whatever. That's your thing.
That was actually something that happened quite often. If you ever actually watched the live streams of their events and stuff, people would stand in line for 2.5 hours just to get up to the microphone and say, fucking fascist, and then walk off.
Yeah, which is, I mean, again, demonstrative of some like mental issues, I think, mental health problems.
Yeah.
But it's, I think that a lot of what led to what happened with Charlie Kirk and things is the fault of increasingly divisive propaganda and increasingly divisive media. It's when you keep screaming that, you know, oh, the other side wants to kill everyone on your side, and, you know, is actively after all of the people, you know, to hurt all of the people that you love, whatever else. When you do that, you do encourage people to start, especially mentally ill individuals, to start thinking that way. And I'm hard pressed to imagine a more twisted, mentally ill individual than someone who logs off of their gay furry porn game and says goodbye to their dude pretending to be a woman roommate so that they can go to a peaceful discussion that a man is holding, and shoot him in the neck in front of 3,000 people, including his small children and his wife. I think that's a level of mental instability that is encouraged to do those things by that kind of rhetoric. I also think there are plenty of people who are on the American political left who were also disgusted by that.
Oh, yes. And I'm not saying that there weren't. I mean, I know quite a few people who, I wouldn't call them lefties, but I'd call them sane liberals. How's that? And
I mean, yeah, well, I wouldn't even call them liberals,
like,
though, because they're not true liberals. They're progressives.
Okay, sane progressives. Relatively sane progressives. How's that?
Yeah. I mean, because I'm a liberal. I mean, that's... Yeah. Liberalism, the term liberalism has been co-opted by these people who are progressive leftists
and projected by the right onto the far left.
Yeah, even though like that's not what liberal means. It's never what liberal classically was supposed to mean either. But again, this is, you know, like I was talking about with like the term fascist, the term Nazi, all these things. This is where language gets co-opted and gets manipulated and gets changed and suddenly means things that it never used to mean, and that it becomes devoid of what it was supposed to be. I mean, the classic,
that goes back to something that I think we talked about in our group chat. Maybe it was a different group chat that I'm in. It's the syndrome. Think back to The Incredibles, right? When everybody's super, nobody is. Well, when everybody you disagree with is a fascist or a Nazi, nobody is. You completely take any meaning out of that word when your only argument is, you're a fucking Nazi.
Well, and we saw that too, though. We also saw that, years ago with around the time of Epstein not killing himself. We saw that where the American political right, and even weirdly people in anarchist circles, started labeling absolutely everyone that disagreed with them that they wanted to argue with as like groomers. And and suddenly that term just kept getting thrown around. And I'm like, you guys keep just throwing this at people like constantly, even when there's no evidence to believe that person's like that. You're cheapening this term to a point that it will mean nothing, which is a disgusting thing to do, because that should definitely mean something. Like, the idea of somebody being a groomer should be instantly repulsive to you. And if you cheapen that by throwing it at everybody to the point that it becomes meaningless and no one cares anymore, it's just a generic insult you throw out there. Like, that's a problem. And the American political right was doing it everywhere.
Yeah, it's the same thing that the left has been doing with the terms like racist, homophobe, xenophobe, whatever the fuck elsophobe that they like to throw around.
Well, yeah, and the reality is, right, as an anarchist, I look at this and I basically chuckle so hard at both sides, because I'm like, you all want the exact same end goals. You're all status. You all want the exact same end goals here. And that's an authoritarian regime. That's what you want. You just disagree on who should be in charge of that authoritarian regime.
Mm-hmm.
But you're all authoritarians. Every single one of you is an authoritarian pile of shit as far as I'm concerned. So fuck you both. Go to hell. Like, I don't care about either one of your arguments, because I think that you're both terrible. It's like that scene in Family Guy with the kids, please. You're both just terrible. Like, that's how I look at both sides of things. Now, what I think has happened from the Charlie Kirk assassination, one is the hilarious use of the phrase, America doesn't or shouldn't tolerate political violence. That is hysterical. That is one of the funniest phrases I have ever heard in my entire life. America literally is political violence.
Yeah, it was founded on political violence.
It was founded on political violence.
There's been political violence in this country ever since before it was created. That's why it was created.
Yeah, and I look at this whole thing and I go, it's absolutely disgusting to me that you're willing to kill somebody who is peaceful, right? Like, that's my objection, is like, this was a peaceful person who was trying to reach across the aisle, who was trying to just have discussions and talk logic with you and do those things.
If you reach all the way back to like 2010 or so, that was the thing that the political left always said, because at that point in time, the political left in this country was in power. And the political right was constantly dragging them. At that point in time, I was among them. And all of those people, they're like, we just want to have peaceful discourse. We want to sit down. We want to talk. We want to hammer out the good ideas. And that's what Charlie Kirk did.
Well, which is funny, though. It's funny though that the political left did that, because I can remember back in 2005-ish when a lot of us that were graduating high school and stuff that were on the conservative side of things, and the conservative Christian side of things, tried to have discussions in public with people and have civil debates about religion and politics and things with people. And the kinds of things that used to happen in like coffee houses and things, and back in like the 18th century and things. And we were trying, we were trying to do that, and we would just get shouted down and basically just run out of places and whatever, because we were trying to sit down and have conversations. And then it's not until, the American political right really gains a bunch more power again, that, well, and really it's, while Bush is still in office, because, at that point, Bush is in office. He's just about to leave it. Obama's about to come in. And like the American political right has power, and then all of a sudden the left has power, and then the left is going, oh, we just want to have conversations, we just want to talk. And then you go back to Trump in 2016, and all of a sudden the right is going, well, we just want to talk and have conversations, and the left is going, I'm going to scream at you. And like it's back and forth, and it's been back and forth a long time.
Yep.
I think really like the last time that anyone was willing to just sit down and have any kind of a political conversation was right before the 2000 election, because the 2000 election with Bush was so divisive in the United States.
Yep.
It was so divisive. And then the aftermath, the hanging chads, and then
right. And that was the thing that made Charlie Kirk so effective, was the fact that he was doing the thing that everybody on both sides, depending on who's in power, claimed that they wanted to do. And he could do so and stand on principle, because every argument I ever heard him make was a very principled argument. I might not have agreed with it all, but he at least made a principled argument, and he didn't deviate.
Well, and when Kirk gets assassinated, his biggest rival on the political left, right, that he debated a whole bunch, sobbed and posted about how much he was mourning what had happened and everything else, and like, you guys don't understand what just happened. Like, this was the last hope of being able to reason with people, and it's gone now. And I have to agree with him. Like, this is going to, years from now, when what's probably coming, and we've known, those of us Hawaiian shirt enthusiasts out there, we've known what's coming is coming for a long time, and we've been trying to warn people, trying to prep people, everything else, that this is happening.
If nothing else, trying to dissuade people. Because to use Charlie Kirk's own fucking quote, when people stop talking, that's when violence happens.
And don't forget that the rise of the luau movement was in response to people on the left not wanting to listen.
Yeah.
And people in power not wanting to listen. And it was in direct response to that. And I think a lot of people too, they forget that when that movement rose was when Trump was in the presidency the first time.
Yeah.
That's when
a lot of it really came up during the summer of love in 2020, when everything was on fire. It was fiery, but mostly peaceful.
Yeah,
I do have to give the political right in this country a little bit of credit here, because when the left is pissed, when the left gets pissed off, cities burn, people die, billions in dollars of damages. When the political right in this country gets pissed off, they stand outside City Hall holding candlelight vigils.
I mean, to a certain extent, yes, but that may be to their detriment. I mean, without running afoul of Brandenburg or anything else, I'll just point out that but the left is winning that particular culture war.
I think they were winning that particular culture war until Charlie Kirk hit the ground. I don't know.
I mean, it's maybe not.
It might be too early to tell. It might be too early to tell. But the fact that this week and last week, churches are seeing record numbers of attendees. People are coming out of the woodwork.
It won't last, though.
It won't. It
won't last. And I think that what happened, so with the first snap back from all of the pushing of all of the woke stuff, right? The first wave of go woke, go broke. That was because they tried to push too hard, too fast. But the reality is they still moved the Overton window. They shifted it further left.
I think this pushed it to the right, but not enough.
I don't think it even pushed it particularly to the right. I don't think it moved it at all. I think that it's still where it is, because all of these people are going to be, people have very short memories and very short attention spans. And all these people are going to be very like, oh, try to be aggressive. They're going to try and be very pro-right. They're going to try and do whatever. But at the end of the day, that's going to last a few months, maybe. And then they're going to just peter out, and they're just going to start focusing on going back to work, because you have to remember that the political left generally doesn't work. So they can spend all of their time worrying about this shit. The rest of us got to go to work.
The only point of contention that I have on that is, historically, when there's been, and I won't say overwhelmingly historically, but in this country in the last 100 years, would you say there have been 3 high-profile political assassinations?
There's been a lot more than that.
High profile.
Yeah, there's been a lot more than that. Past 100 years.
If you were to ask a normie, I'm talking about ask a normie, what are the 3 most high-profile political assassinations in the last 100 years?
John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr. They might mention Malcolm X.
Charlie Kirk.
And then Charlie Kirk, yes. But I mean, there's been more than that in terms of.
Oh, I know there's been more than that. I'm talking about the average normie. Somebody who's been through the public indoctrination system where they actually cover JFK, RFK, Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X.
Yeah, but also remember that like RFK's assassination did effectively nothing.
It did.
It didn't really, nothing really changed except the Democrat presidential candidate choice. JFK's assassination seemed to, along with Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination, kind of galvanized the civil rights movement, and also point out that, MLK's assassination really galvanized the wrong part of the civil rights movement. Like, he was reasonable. He was being fairly reasonable with things and with what he wanted, what he was saying he wanted, and with his tactics. And it left, Malcolm X, and it left Jesse Jackson, and that's who it left behind. Much more militant people who, viewed that assassination as a sign that you cannot negotiate your way out of this. You're going to have to shoot your way out of it. And
which is pretty much where the political right is right now.
See, and that is where they are. So, I mean, I could be wrong, and maybe this is a massive turning point. And I do think that, when things happen, that again, Hawaiian shirt things happen, it could be viewed, after everything's done, when historians look back at it, as the final turning point, right? Like, in the same way that we tend to view, chucking the tea into Boston Harbor as the turning point where everything started going. I can see where that argument could be made, but I also don't think that it's going to be as big a thing as some people might hope. I think that it's going to seem really big for now, and then it's going to peter out, because I think what's about to happen is you're going to watch the American political right prove the left calling them fascist correct. And that's going to burn things pretty good. To wit, let's talk about, you remember after Trump left office the first time, and you remember he was getting prosecuted right and left by the FBI and everything, and there were all these people coming after him. Yeah, all these people coming after him because he was their political opponent, and they were wielding the Justice Department as a weapon against political opposition.
Yep.
Well, as I've said multiple times, you can quote me on it, the truncheon you use today becomes the bat that they use tomorrow.
Yep.
Trump pushes Justice Department to prosecute his political opponents. President Donald Trump has called on the country's top law enforcement official, Attorney General Pam Bondi, to more aggressively investigate his political adversaries. In a social media post addressed directly to Bondi, he said, "We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility." Trump expressed frustration that, quote, nothing is being done, before calling on Bondi to investigate former FBI Director James Comey, New York Attorney General Letitia James, and Democratic Senator Adam Schiff, who oversaw his first impeachment trial. Shortly after, he posted again to praise Bondi, who he said was doing a great job. Quote, "I've reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that, essentially, same old story as last time, all talk, no action. Nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam, Shifty Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done," Trump said on Saturday. His statement was roundly criticized by Democrats, including Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who said that this is the path to a dictatorship. Oh gosh, is it, Chuck? Is it? Is that how this happens? Is it maybe because of what your side did the first time around that this is happening?
Right. And that's the thing that I think a lot of the people, especially on the political left in the United States, forget about is this isn't the opening salvo. This is a direct response to exactly what you did to him after he left office.
And this is like, remember that wielding the Justice Department in this kind of way is something that the left kind of pioneered and initially. And then now you have Trump responding, further escalating it. Well, when Trump's out, if there's not another Republican right in behind him, the left is going to take it back. They're going to escalate it even further. That's
the cat's out of the bag. It's just going to keep happening.
Yeah. Once,
and I would say that it was Obama who really pioneered it, the way he went after things like FFLs, was it Operation, not Fast and Furious, I don't remember what it was called, but where they started going after FFLs based on tax records or something like that, or they started auditing conservatives, and then they revoked 501c3 status from political action committees on the right. And there was more.
Yeah, but what we're seeing though is we're seeing this continue to escalate, right? Each administration starts using the Justice Department and using the government to attack their political opponents, and it keeps building. This is the path to a full-on totalitarian dictatorship. And unfortunately, it has begun, and it's going to keep getting worse. And the thing is, I've said it I've brought up that point so many times, and I forget who it was that famously said there's nothing so permanent as a temporary government program.
I said that several times.
Well, yeah, but there's a very famous quote from the 1930s that's that. I think it's oh gosh, I can't remember his name. He was a famous satirist. Anyway, he said it originally. And this is one of the Milton Friedman. So Friedman said it, and he was right all the way back then, right? He was correct. And it continues to be a thing that gets proven again and again and again. But on top of that, the truncheon, right? The small little rubber bat that you use today, right, that you give government to use against your opponents today, that turns into the bat that your opponents, once they take over government, then use against you. And you started it. And this is, again, why I talk about how the left and the right are two sides of the exact same coin in America politically. They both seek totalitarianism. They both seek despotism. It's just they disagree about who should be in charge of it. But both of them are willing to go down that path.
About Republicans or conservatives are progressives driving the speed limit.
Yeah, exactly. They're both heading the same place.
Yep.
They both want increased government power, more government interference in your life, more government interference in everyone's daily lives. They both want to continue to escalate this. They just disagree about who should be in charge of the totalitarian government.
Yep.
And and since the 70s, the Justice Department has sought to position itself mostly independent from the presidency. That has largely changed in the past few administrations. Blah, blah, blah. The big thing, though, is that my point with bringing this up is that the people who are cheering for, government should go after these people and Trump should go after these people and Trump should invoke this to go after these people, seem to forget that like Trump's use of emergency powers to deal with the border crisis is what directly led to Biden then using those in a bunch of instances as well. Yep. Because he set the precedent for this to be done. And you people seem to not understand. You're not sitting there and recognizing the fact that
your side is directly responsible.
Yeah, what you're doing, what you're cheering for is the reason that the other side, when they come into power, are able to start doing that. And that goes for both sides.
Yeah. Like you said, one carries a bludgeon, the other one carries a cudgel, and they just keep reusing it.
I mean, if no one had ever, like, if it was considered sacrosanct that you keep the Justice Department separate from politics, right? If that had stayed sacrosanct, then no one ever would have been able to go after Trump for, just because he pissed them off. And nobody, Trump would now not be going after the left because they pissed him off. And I guarantee you when the left gets into power next, they're going to go back after Trump and after a bunch of other people again and look for excuses. I mean, look at January 6th, right? Like that, the prosecution of January 6th would not have been what it was were it not for what Trump tried to do his first term, were it not for what Obama had done, were it not for what George W. Bush had already done, were it not for what Bill Clinton had done, were it not for what George Bush Sr. had done, were it not for what Reagan had done. And really, the buck kind of stops with Reagan, let's be honest.
I'd go back to Nixon.
I mean, yeah, Nick, I am not a crook. It's not illegal when the president does it. Yeah, I mean, I can see going back to Nixon, but like, this is the direct result. Like, all of this happening is the direct result of people deciding, well, while I'm in power, I'm going to push the boundaries of what the Constitution will allow, and I'm going to keep escalating government power, and I'm going to keep doing this. And these people seem to not understand that when you do that, you have now set the precedent. And now when the people that are on the other side wind up in power, they're now going to escalate it further and use it against you, which is then going to incentivize you to have revenge and use it against that. And it's going to be back and forth and back and forth. And it's just going to keep getting worse. And the losers at the end of this are the American people who enjoy freedom. Those are the ones
always the people that lose.
Yeah. Speaking of people who lose.
Actually, hold on. There's a quote from a movie that I got to find it. I have to find the full quote. Hold on. You remember the movie The Siege?
Yes.
Here it is. Come on, General. You've lost men. I've lost men. But you can't do this. What if they don't even know the Sheik? What have you considered that? What if what they really want is for us to herd our children into stadiums like we're doing and put soldiers on the street, have Americans looking over their shoulders, bend the law, shred the Constitution just a little bit. Because if we torture him, General, we do that, and everything we have fought, bled, and died for is over. And they've won. They've already won.
Yeah, it was Denzel Washington to
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. Yes, and the Siege is really good. I enjoyed The Siege. There's another quote about the first link being forged from Star Trek.
Yep.
My favorite TV show. From Next Gen. From the episode Measure of a Man. If you haven't watched that episode, Measure of a Man, you are missing out significantly. It is an absolutely fantastic episode that asks a lot of very, very hard questions. Actually, really, Next Gen and DS9, those two together are fantastic at doing what Star Trek is designed to do, which is ask very hard social questions in a way that's a little more palatable for the average person. The first series, the original series did that. TNG's great. I love TNG. I prefer DS9. It's my favorite of the Star Treks, but TNG's good. I hate Voyager. Hey, remember that time Janeway murdered a man and we just never said anything about it again? Like,
yeah, and I could never get into TOS because I can't stand William Shatner.
Oh, I love the original series. I do. I love the original series.
Can't stand William Shatner.
Most people at the time couldn't stand.
Dude reminds me of Jim Carrey, the way he overacts everything.
Well, that's actually because he's a Shakespearean trained actor. There's a lot of that, but I enjoy the original series, campy as it is, a little ridiculous as it is. I really like Next Gen. I like DS9. Voyager I can't stand. I pretend that Enterprise never happened as much as possible. Strange New Worlds has been great so far. Big fan of Strange New Worlds. Really loving it. Big fan. You can disagree with me on that. That's fine. You can be wrong. I don't care. But speaking of people who lose, or rather don't lose, should we talk about some scandalous stones?
Sure.
Cheating scandal rocks world stone skimming championships.
Stone skimming.
Yes, the World Stone Skimming Championships have been rocked by a cheating.
You didn't send me a list, so I'm just kind of going off of
it's. What do you mean? It's in the I sent it in the group chat at like 2 hours ago.
Oh, so you did.
Yeah. The World Stone Skimming Championships have been rocked by a cheating scandal after several competitors were disqualified for tampering. More than 2,200 people from 27 countries attended this year's event on the tiny island of Easdale off the west coast of Scotland. Rules state that stones must come from naturally occurring island slate. However, some were found to have been ground into a suspiciously circular shape to help them bounce on the water. Tisk, gentlemen, tisk.
They were shaping their own stones.
Yes. Organizer Dr. Kyle Matthews told BBC News that the offenders had, quote, held their hands up and apologized. Entrants choose their own stone and judges use a measuring device, the Ring of Truth, to ensure they are no bigger than 3 inches in diameter. Each competitor is allowed 3 skims and stones must bounce at least twice on water before sinking. Dr. Matthews, also known as the Toss Master. Is he, though, or did he just tell you that?
That sounds like something from Pornhub.
Is he, though, or did he just tell you they call me the Toss Master? Like,
I want proof.
Like, I'm Star-Lord. You know what I mean? Like, but does anyone call you that, or do you just call yourself that? Told BBC Radio's Good Morning Scotland that judges heard, quote, rumors and murmurings of some nefarious deeds, end quote. There's a little bit of stone doctoring, he said. They had shaped it so that it was perfectly circular and fitted our 3-inch measurer. As it's a piece of metal, I don't think we can blame it too much. The problem was we didn't just notice at the time that they were suspiciously circular.
So they weren't stones, they were chunks of metal.
Well, no, they were stones, but they were suspiciously ground down into a perfectly circular shape and as flat as possible. And the metal ring that they use, it's like a big metal circle on a stick. And that's what they use to verify that the stones are the right size. But apparently, this is quite the scandal in the stone skipping world.
The dude that won, Jonathan Jennings, went on to victory last week and as the contest's first American winner. skimming his stones a cumulative distance of 177 meters.
In 3 stones. Just think about that for a second. That is a hell of a stone skip.
It's a hell of a toss, yeah. I think that might be the master tosser.
Yeah, I think he's the toss master, not this other guy who's trying to call himself. And the dude's already a doctor. Why has he got to get a nickname? Like, you already get doctor, all right? Like, I feel like the
only time I've ever heard somebody called a toss master, it was definitely not talking about stone skipping.
I feel like you know what he should have gone with, because he's a doctor, is Dr. Tosser. Especially because it's in Scotland.
Really? Fucking hell.
Oh, but
you had to go there.
I did.
I don't blame you.
The contest is staged in a former slate quarry that was flooded by a tidal wave in 1881, which is a really cool little factoid. Is run by volunteers, and the proceeds support local community projects and charities. Last year, it raised £15,000. Easdale is the smallest permanently inhabited island of the Inner Hebrides, with a population of about 60 people.
So this competition is probably really big on their tourism.
Yeah, considering, what did they say? How many people? 2,200 people come to an island that normally has a population of 60.
From 27 countries. Good God.
So I imagine, like, to skip stones, but yes, apparently the stone skipping professional world was rocked by allegations of cheating.
Huh.
You should not skip your cheating when you're tossing. All right, you should skip cheating when you're tossing. Don't be cheating. Don't be a cheating tosser. All right.
I see Bo joined us.
Yep. Yeah. Nobody likes a cheating tosser. All right. That's
Well, speaking of cheating tossers, do we want to go talk about a fake stripper girlfriend?
Do we want to do another funny one? Yeah. Let's talk about the fake stripper girlfriend. This is still one of the most insane stories. And honestly, I mean, I can't even like get mad. Like, I mean, like, this is kind of like, this sucks for him, but like, I get her position. Las Vegas
stripper pretended to be Arkansas millionaire's girlfriend in order to spend his money, lawsuit claims.
A Las Vegas. Yeah, she's reportedly hoodwinked him. Hoodwinked. They used the phrase hoodwinked.
And knowingly bilked her wealthy ex out of millions of dollars during their decade-long relationship, her ex claimed in a lawsuit. Melanie Beth Sterling filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit last week, with her attorney stating her ex, Fred Bruner, has a history of, quote, claiming without merit, end quote, that she stole millions from him after they met in a club in 2014, the Las Vegas Review-Journal reported. The parties were in a long-term relationship, which should have concluded with each party going their separate ways, said Sterling's attorney, Jim Jimerson. Jim Jimerson. All right.
Jim Jimerson in Arkansas.
The truth will win the day.
I'm just a simple country lawyer.
Bruner sued Sterling and 4 others last year for $3.5 million in compensatory damages and $35 million in punitive damages, according to the report. The case was set to be adjudicated in Arkansas, where Bruner lives, but the judge ruled it should be heard in Nevada. A hearing over the motion to dismiss is set for October 21. When the couple met, Bruner was going through a divorce and Sterling was working in the club as a dancer. After meeting, Sterling gave Bruner a private dance and learned that he was far wealthier than her normal patrons, wealthy enough to change her life, according to the lawsuit. The pair exchanged phone numbers and Sterling pursued a relationship with Bruner with the intent of defrauding
strippers.
Never. Andrew will tell you from firsthand experience.
don't do it, man. Don't do it. It's not worth it. I mean, it's kind of worth it, but not if you're rich. It's not worth it.
According to the lawsuit, Sterling hoodwinked Bruner into thinking she was dating him when she was actually using the money he gave her with other men. During their 10-year relationship, Sterling asked Bruner for financial support over 100 times, the lawsuit claims.
As somebody who's poly, like, even if she's doing that, like, does that mean she's not dating you? Are you going on dates? Like, if you are, then by definition, she is in fact dating you.
Right.
Like, just because she's cheating on you doesn't mean she's not also dating you.
Right.
You wouldn't be the first dude to get cheated on by a stripper.
And definitely not the last.
And I'm saying this from the position of somebody who married a stripper and then she was using my money to go on dates with other men, okay? Like, that doesn't mean that we weren't married. She was just a cheating whore.
However, Jesus Christ.
I'm just pointing out, like, you're
not wrong.
I'm on her side here. Like, she's the horrible bitch, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, you weren't together and you didn't give her the ability to use your money. Like,
listen, if you are simply dating a stripper, I don't care how long you've been dating that stripper. If you are dating a stripper, do not give her access to your bank accounts.
They were together for 10 years. 10 freaking. How do you
maintain still wouldn't a relationship give her access to my fucking bank accounts?
Yeah, but I mean, like, 10, dude. The only way you are in a relationship with a stripper for 10 years is that she is both cheating on you and you're giving her millions of dollars. Like, let's be honest, that is the only way that happens. Yeah. Or you're a drug dealer and a pimp and she's terrified of you. One of those two things is true.
Bruner admitted in the suit that he sent checks to Sterling totaling more than $2.1 million during their relationship. Sterling reportedly used that money to buy a $720,000 home in Las Vegas, according to the suit. Yeah. In Sterling's motion to dismiss the suit, she describes Bruner as being, quote, generous with his wealth. Also noted that she, quote, was not naive and believed from the start of their relationship that Bruner, quote, was not the monogamous type.
So what she's saying is he knew that she wasn't going to only be dating him. He just appreciated the ability to also be dating her and was willing to keep giving her money. It was what she's saying is this was a sugar baby relationship and he knew it. Like, that's basically what's happening here. Is like she's going, I was a stripper and you were a rich guy, and like obviously we know how this goes. And he's not a moron, and neither am I. And I don't think that he thinks that this is going to be exclusive. You know, like that's what's happening here. Meanwhile, Bruner's complaint claimed that Sterling was not truthful about her intentions in the relationship. The lawsuit cites one specific incident in 2020 when Sterling texted Bruner saying she didn't feel well after posting a photo on social media with another man identified as Shanta Cotright. Okay. Sterling's response said she, quote, understood that a man with plaintiff's extreme wealth was, quote, used to getting what he wanted, end quote, according to the report. She claimed that Bruner begged and pleaded for her to come back to him in 2024. And when she refused, that's when he sued her.
So I think we can all take a lesson from this. The stripper is not actually into you.
She's not. And even if she is, she's not that into you.
No. She's a stripper. She's morally flexible enough to not be that into you.
You can either accept the reality of things, which is what she's claiming he did, is that he accepted the reality of the nature of dating a woman in the industry, as it were. And, you know, you could either accept that or and possibly delude yourself into thinking that somehow this is ever going to be an exclusive thing. Or you apparently can sue them. Quote, Mr. Bruner has filed 4 versions of his complaint against Ms. Sterling, 3 in Arkansas and now 1 in Nevada. Jim Jimerson said, Ms. Sterling and Mr. Cartwright are confident that the court will appropriately adjudicate this dispute.
The lawsuit accuses Sterling and Cartwright of being, quote, covertly engaged in a romantic relationship, end quote, while Sterling dated Bruner for his money. The suit also claims that, quote, Sterling and Cartwright were using much of the money plaintiff provided to Sterling for lavish dinners, parties, trips, and purchases. Yep. However, in Sterling's motion to dismiss, she notes that she and Bruner were never married, engaged, or even living together, and that she did not owe him anything, according to the reports. You know, I have a question, and it's a question based on a statist argument, but a question nonetheless. He wrote her a check for $2.1 million.
Well, multiple checks that totaled $2.1 million.
Is that what it said? I thought it said check for 2.1.
No, it was multiple checks that totaled $2.1 million.
Yep, totaling more than 2.1. Okay. Either way, did any of those checks? Well, no. Once you reach the $20,000 lifetime limit, I wonder if she ever paid taxes on that.
I mean, strictly speaking, I suspect not. However, this next paragraph is my favorite in this entire thing.
Okay.
Plaintiff alleges that he fell victim to a 10-year relationship scam. Sterling's motion reads, haven't we all? The difference is that everyone else does not sue their ex, claiming that they were duped into spending money on them when the relationship does not work out in the end. An attorney for Bruner declined to comment on the case to the Review Journal, telling the publication they, quote, are going to address it in court, end quote.
Haven't we all duped into a 10-year relationship?
Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing, right? Like, I know because I obviously have a bunch of friends in the industry, right? I'm friends with strippers, I'm friends with porn stars and girls who do OnlyFans and stuff, right? I'm friends with these people. I know a bunch of them, and there are so many dudes who will talk to them, spend a bunch of money on them, and in response to them spending money on them, they talk to them and whatever, and they're flirty, whatever. These dudes constantly convince themselves that, like, oh, we're in a relationship now and it's an exclusive relationship, and then they find out that these chicks like live with boyfriends or husbands and things, and are all like hurt and like, oh, you betrayed me, you misled me. No, man. You just fell victim to the oldest scam in the history of stripping, which is that you thought that the stripper was into you because she showed you her boobies. That's her job, bro. That's not
right.
Do you think that the chick at the front desk of the hotel is into you too? Like, no, like, that isn't how this works, man. But I also think
extending $100,000 to the government just to get a visa.
Yeah. Oh, this time they'll like me. This though, I wanted to bring up the H-1B thing. One, because I wanted to talk about 4chan. And
there's not a topic we talk about a whole lot here. Is 4chan.
So 4chan did a thing called Operation Clog Toilet. What? And from what I understand, it was successful. So Trump cracked down on H-1Bs, right? So H-1B, if you're unfamiliar with immigration stuff, H-1Bs are the non-immigrant foreign worker, skilled worker visas. Okay, so what they do is you pay the government certain amounts of blood money, go through a paperwork process, and in exchange, you're then allowed to, as a skilled worker, to come to the United States to perform work for American companies, because the American companies can't get the same kind of skilled workers here because they effectively don't exist in the United States. Covered that on a previous episode. Not only do we not know how to make shit, we don't know how to make the things that make things anymore. But H-1B is principally used lately by Silicon Valley for workers from India. Okay. This is like the by far and away the biggest thing, right? Well, Trump basically said that it was kind of ridiculous that what was happening is that India, and in particular and other countries as well, were training up these like web developers, software developers, things like this, and then just sending them to America to gain experience working at these other companies, and then going back to India and then putting all of that experience to work in India. And then America isn't benefiting from that in any appreciable way, which is a lie. That isn't true. In fact, importing skilled foreign workers in order to enhance your ability to do shit is a thing that has been going on since ancient Sumeria.
Right.
Whether you wanted to be a skilled worker that was imported or not, in some cases. You may still be imported. Definitely a thing in the ancient world. But Sumeria, Persia, Carthage, Rome, all the way up through, this is what countries do. This is a thing that you do, right? There's a reason why Murano forbid its glassmakers from traveling to foreign countries. Was because those foreign countries were going to then employ those foreign skilled workers from Murano to start making glass for them. And that was going to cut into Murano's business, right?
Right.
But that was such a normal practice. It's been a normal practice for the entirety of human civilization. Okay? All of it. The Greeks did it. The Egyptian pharaohs did it. Everybody does it. This is a thing that we have always done. If we don't have the skills to do a thing, we pay people from other places to come in and do the things for us. This is what we do. During the castle building era of the Middle Ages, there was an entire like group of people who were essentially men without a country anymore because they were just moving so often following the castles being built because there are all these skilled stonemasons and they're just going from one place to another following the jobs. Which is because in even a semi-free society, you can do that.
You go where the work is.
Yeah, you go where the work is. And the people that get you as a worker are happy because now they have skilled workers to do things that they need to have done. The workers are happy because they have jobs and they're making money. Everybody fucking wins in this scenario, right? But Trump goes, no, I don't like this. And so what does he do? He upped the fees for H-1B visas starting today, Sunday, the 21st of September, to $100,000.
Well, he did say he was going to implement the gold card.
Oh, yeah, the fast track if you wanted to spend $1 million.
Yep. Throw $1 million in bribery money at the government, and they're like, oh, yeah, come on in.
Yeah.
I wonder how many towel heads we can get that way.
So what happened is, and I want to specifically, before we go on in this article and kind of talk about exactly what's going on here. So Trump announces this on Saturday.
Yep.
That as of Sunday, it will cost you $100,000, which means that there's a whole shit ton of Indian IT guys who have gone home to India who now have less than 24 hours to make it back to the United States, or they will have to figure out how to fork over $100,000 to get back here to their jobs.
Yep.
Okay. So 4chan decides, oh, we're going to go ahead and interfere with that. And so they figure out that if you go to begin to book tickets on a flight, through a website that the tickets get reserved for you whether you complete the checkout or not for about 15 minutes on average.
So they flooded the travel sites.
Yep, and booked every
Reserving
single
all
ticket.
of the flights.
Yep, all of the flights. Over and over and over again. So that none of the Indian workers could fly back in time to not have to pay.
I'm both horrified and amazed at the ingenuity.
It is kind of incredible, to be honest.
Because that, I mean, for 4chan to come up with that, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, I for the most part, I've not met too many Pajeets that I got along with.
It is, but the reality is, right? The reality is that Silicon Valley cannot do what it does without foreign workers.
That's true. Yes.
There just aren't enough people with the skills and knowledge for programming, for coding in particular, in the United States to make up that workforce. There just aren't.
I'll take the paycheck they're giving the Indians.
Will you also take the hours? Because if you're working on game development, you can expect 60-hour work weeks.
Honestly, yeah.
For the next several years.
I can do it.
60-hour work weeks for the next several years. No vacations, 60-hour work weeks.
They're paying that kind of money with the amount of money that they're getting paid. Yeah, I'd do it. You're talking about people who are being brought in and paid $170,000 a year ish minimum to sit there and code. If somebody's going to pay me $170,000 a year,
if they're making $170K a year, I would be shocked. That is not the average at all. The average is more like 85 to 90.
When you're talking about high-end programmers, that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, but we're not talking. We're talking about the majority of these people. The majority of these people are making 85 to 90K a year. Most 85 to 90K a year. They're working 60 hours a week. And to incredibly tight deadlines.
Yeah, it's true.
And because that's how the game industry works, right? We've all heard the stories. We all heard the horror stories. If you know anybody who works at Raven, I don't know if you know anybody who works at Raven. I know a couple who work at Raven Software. So Raven Software is headquartered in Madison, Wisconsin. If you don't know, they're the development studio behind Call of Duty. I have heard the horror stories of the kind of time that they're being expected to work, the kind of hours they're being expected to work, the quadruple overtime, things like that. When they get close to launch, literally emptying certain offices and setting them up as makeshift bedrooms for people to just sleep. So they don't have to waste time going home. Like this is the kind of work atmosphere that the software industry demands. Well, American workers won't put up with that. But Indian workers will.
American workers will put up with it if you pay them properly.
Not even if you pay them properly.
The vast majority of programmers that I know, because I know several, will tell you if they could find a programming job where they made a minimum of 125, they would do exactly what you described.
Do you want $120 games for Xbox? Because that's how you get $120 games for Xbox.
I know.
That's why, though. That's what I'm saying, is because the consumers will not pay the amount of money that it would take for them to pay people, American workers, enough to even put up with half of the bullshit that the Indian workers are willing to put up with.
The other thing is I don't understand why they're importing the workers to do the work anyway. You live in the digital fucking age. You can pay them to stay in India and do the job.
I assume there's a reason. I don't know what it is. I would assume it's like secrecy. It's proprietary information protection, probably. Because the last thing I want is my top secret proprietary code to now be in a foreign country where I have dubious copyright and trademark enforcement at best.
Depending on the country, there's ways around it.
It's literally the reason. It's literally the reason that
we're going to see the workarounds coming out of the woodwork, because maybe they can't. Maybe you can't keep your proprietary code proprietary if the people doing the work are in India. Okay, so they end up sticking them on a plane and flying them to Colombia, where they do the work.
You mean the country that's no longer cooperating in the drug war? That's not going to work out well.
I'm not saying, I just came out there, but you know what I mean. You grab a country that cooperates on that type of thing, and you send them there, because there's a whole lot of people or a whole lot of places that are incredibly welcoming to people who don't have any intention of assimilating into the culture.
Yes, but the issue. So here's the thing: is the issue that this is going to cause, at least in the short term, is that none of this stuff is going to get worked on, because all the people who know what the hell is going on with it can't get back into the country. Yeah, because of 100,000. There are few things more anti-freedom than saying, if you want to come here and work and be a productive member of society, you have to pay the government $100,000 for the privilege. Oh, but if you want to be able to do it in the next 12 months, hey, you only need to pay us the low sum of $1 million.
No, I don't disagree with anything you just said.
This is blood money, and this is ridiculous. And the reality is, the software business in the United States, just as much as the IT world in India, are built on this exchange of workers. That's what it's built on, right? Like, that's what it's been built on. That's what it keeps being built on. And that is what has enabled software, enabled games, things like that, computers, to be as comparatively cheap as they have been for so long.
Yeah.
And what we're about to see, like, people are already freaking out at the idea that a standard edition of GTA 6 was going to be $100. It's probably going to be several $100s now as a result of this. So you're going to be looking at $200 games, because that's what it costs to have American workers doing what the Indian workers were willing to do for a fraction of the cost.
Yep. And you know what? It sucks. And I understand where you're coming from, and it makes perfect sense.
Maybe
it'll get more people outside touching grass.
India was by far the largest beneficiary of H-1B visas last year, accounting for 71% of approved beneficiaries, while China was a distant second at 11.7%. Those Chinese workers, by the way, are also just as important, if not more so. In fact, probably far more so, because those Chinese workers are principally utilized in tool and die and manufacturing. You know why? Because Americans don't know how to do tool and die making anymore. Americans don't know how to manufacture things, and don't know how to manufacture the things that manufacture the things anymore. They don't. If you don't believe me and think that overnight you could just manufacture something in the United States, I challenge you to try.
The caveat to what Andrew just said is to be able to do it at an industrial level. He's absolutely right. There are a number of small tool and die makers all across the country that can make you exactly what you need. It ain't going to be cheap, but it's going to be good.
I will put it in perspective. Veritasium attempted to do just that. They attempted to manufacture something entirely in the United States with no foreign parts. Do you know what they produced? A grill brush. Do you know how much those grill brushes cost because they're manufactured entirely in the United States? to make a minimally accepted margin.
$130.
Right about. For a grill brush. And you know how many companies he could find who can make tool and dies for him? 2. There are 2 in the United States.
Like I said, at industrial capacities, yeah.
Yeah. So not only do we not know how to make shit, we don't know how to make the shit that makes the shit. And so these Chinese workers are extremely important.
Yeah.
And going, well, then we need to learn how to do it. Yeah, we do need to relearn how to do that. But you know what that takes? Time.
And when you're talking about an economy that's been teetering on the edge of full-blown collapse for the last decade or so.
Yeah.
That time is not something you have.
Yeah, you don't have that time. Also, it's going to drive the cost of goods through the fucking roof. So inflation's already terrible. Now imagine, oh, I need this part for my car. Oh, hey, it's not a $30 part anymore. It's $190.
Yep.
Because it was made in the U.S. But hey, thank God it's American manufacturing, right? People who think that you have to manufacture things in the United States because otherwise you're taking our jobs are morons. Morons. The United States can specialize in other things that other countries aren't doing and or can't do, that only the United States can do very, very easily. It's a thing we've been doing for decades. I'm all for wanting to bring manufacturing back to the United States. I think that's a good idea. I think that would be great. We should. But if we do, people need to stop fucking demanding $20 an hour starting wages for a job where you push 3 buttons all day.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same reason why the UAW killed Detroit, right? They killed Detroit. There is no argument against it. The UAW is the reason Detroit collapsed. The UAW, the United Auto Workers, their demand for constantly more drove manufacturing out of this country. It wasn't that companies just, we're greedy. It was that they wanted to be able to make any money, and you guys were not going to let them.
It's no different than the public sector unions or just about any fucking union out there. They eventually, once the unions get hold in a manufacturing facility, the first thing they do is make demands that force the company into concessions that essentially makes the company less solvent.
When a union is just protecting its workers, right? Which is rare nowadays. But when a union is legitimately just protecting its workers, going, no, you don't get to work us 90 hours a week. No, you don't get to put us in incredibly unsafe conditions. No, you don't get to expose us to cancer-causing chemicals and then not take care of us when we inevitably get sick. When that's what a union is doing, awesome, great, love it, go for it, all for it, right? Awesome. I'm an anarchist. I'm all about collective bargaining rights if that's something that everybody wants to do. Cool beans, whatever. But the problem is that is almost never where unions stop.
No, they just keep going. They want more and more and more and more.
Yeah, they want more and more and more and more. And the reality is that these same members of these unions who keep going, yeah, I want more and more and more. Also, then, if they went to a store and realized that because everyone was now unionized and everyone was getting union benefits, trying to buy construction materials for their deck was now 25 times more expensive, they'd freak out about it and be like, this is ridiculous. Why is it so expensive? The government needs to institute price controls. Why? Because the unions are gateways to socialism.
And speaking
a union's
of
not inherently socialist, but it's a gateway that direction.
And speaking of wonderful, wonderful inflation and all of that, a once-in-a-generation economic crisis in rural America means this year could be the last one for many farmers as Trump's she call offers no relief.
Hey, gosh, it's almost like tariffs do, in fact, actually hurt the average working person.
Who could have seen that coming?
Gosh, yes. The
40th Farm Aid Benefit Concert is being held on Saturday as the economic outlook for rural America is the gloomiest it's been in decades. A survey released by the National Corn Growers Association on Wednesday showed that 46% believe the U.S. is on the brink of a farm crisis, and another 33% said maybe. That's 79%.
Of people are pretty sure that farms are about to collapse.
Meanwhile, about 2/3 said they are more concerned about their financial situation compared to a year ago, with 58% postponing equipment purchases, 38% reducing fertilizer application, and 22% looking for more off-farm income. These findings point to a once-in-a-generation problem for the agricultural economy, said NCGA Chief Economist Krista Swanson in a statement. The survey findings suggest that this crisis could have a long reach, affecting every area of the economy, as farmers are less likely to make purchases and will certainly make budget cuts that could affect their local communities. You mean when the farmers that are largely propping up a lot of these rural communities have to pinch the pennies so that because they're not making as much, it could negatively impact the small communities that they support?
But Chris, surely tariffs only affect companies that are outsourcing everything, and it only serves them right.
Those companies would absolutely never, ever pass those costs on to the very customers that they're selling the stuff to behind the tariff wall.
Oh, this isn't about that. This gets way worse, and it's a way bleaker outlook than you think. So
the bleak survey results mirrored similarly downbeat readings in the Purdue University CME Group Ag Economy Barometer Index, which fell 10 points in August to 125. A sub-index on expectations for the future dropped 16 points to 123, lowest since last September, as the crop prices have plunged from their 2022 peak, while production costs remain near record highs. Last month, the NCGA called on Congress and the Trump administration to boost demand, including via higher blends of ethanol and increased foreign market access, as it sounded the alarm on economic crisis hitting rural America.
The increased foreign market access thing is going to be the big thing here, because this goes on to mention there's one crop being hit especially hard. The American Soybean Association sent a letter to Trump last month warning that U.S. soybean farmers are standing at a trade and financial precipice. With harvest season near, China hasn't purchased any U.S. soybeans for the months ahead, despite being the top buyer historically. That is in response to the trade war and the tariffs. China is not buying any soybeans. When they say top buyer, okay, when they say top buyer, we're not talking about top buyer, oh, they purchase 50%. We're saying top buyer, they purchase 90-ish % of U.S. soybeans, and they haven't bought any. Think about that. That means that all of these farmers who've been raising soybeans as cash crops, and there's a lot of them in the Midwest.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them, right? Soybeans are essential to raise corn, right? Because the soybeans are nitrogen fixers. So you rotate soybeans with corn. You raise corn so that you can feed meat and make delicious steaks. You raise soybeans so that you refix the nitrogen for the corn that the corn pulls out of the ground. And then you sell those soybeans to help continue to pay your bills. You sell those soybeans to China for them to use them for food. They use them for building materials, all sorts of things, right? When China doesn't buy soybeans, American farmers go broke.
The group said U.S. soybean farmers cannot survive a prolonged trade dispute with China and urged Trump to prioritize soybeans and talk with Beijing. But on Friday, Trump didn't mention anything about agricultural exports after a call with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Prices for soybeans, corn, and wheat all fell yesterday. To be sure, U.S. farmers are set to receive substantial help. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act that was signed in July included about $66 billion in agriculture-focused spending. The vast majority, about $59 billion, is earmarked for farm safety net enhancements, according to the
farmers, by and large, are in fact welfare whores.
They are.
Just blatantly, they're welfare whores. Yes, even that farmer that you know, yes, even your parents that are farmers, everything else, I guarantee you with 100% certainty, the majority of their income comes from government subsidies, not from what they're selling.
Yep.
And if they tell you otherwise, they're lying sacks of shit.
The only way a farm can survive on its own is if it completely disconnects itself from the monetary system and sells direct to consumer. And even then, it gets tight and you have to build a market for it.
Yeah. The American Soybean Association CEO Stephen Sensky told Farm Journal's AgWeb on Friday the government assistance gets, quote, capitalized, unquote, over the longer term, meaning payments offer limited overall relief for farmers who subsequently see rents and other costs go up too. Quote, it's tough, and I can hear it in the stress in our members' voices. Our members and our board directors are really concerned right now. Chensky, who served as Deputy Agricultural Secretary in Trump's first term, said, some say if things don't turn around, if we don't get markets back, or if we get economic assistance, which is not our first choice, this could be their last year farming, and that's pretty scary.
So essentially, all of this trade war is doing is it's destroying the U.S. ability to produce its own fucking food.
Its own food, its own electronics, its own equipment, everything. It is making everything more expensive and harder to get. It is making everything more difficult to produce. It is destroying the economy. Tariff wars, trade wars do not benefit countries. They just don't. They don't. They never have. Free markets benefit countries. Free exchange of goods benefits countries. That's what helps. Not making everything more expensive. When you make everything more expensive, the people who are trying to buy the things are the ones who suffer the most. And that's not the rich people. That's the working class. That's the average American. That's who's getting shafted.
Yep. Every person that you know and love and care about gets raked over the coals for everything now.
Fun fact, do you know what one product is basically destroying everything because of the trade war, because of the tariffs?
What?
One single type of product. One tiny little type of product that is affecting everything. Absolutely everything. Screws. America doesn't make screws. From little tiny baby screws like this one, all the way up to big bolts. America doesn't make those. China does. And guess what uses screws?
Everything.
Everything. In fact, it's so bad. Ashley Furniture, right? One of the largest furniture manufacturers in the world.
Yep.
Ashley Furniture has had to add a 5% increase to their prices to offset how much more expensive building their furniture in the United States is, because their fabric and their screws come from China. It's a made in America piece of furniture, but because America doesn't make textiles and America doesn't make screws, they have to order that from overseas in very large quantities. So when you put tariffs on it, it drives things up, which means when you go to buy a couch as an average American now, it's going to be more expensive.
Yep.
Xbox has had to raise the price, right? Microsoft has raised the price on the Xboxes twice in the past 2 months as a result of the tariffs.
Yeah, I saw that the top line Xbox right now is something like $799 or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I got mine very early on, so I've had mine for a while, but
if I'm playing Xbox, I'm still playing on an old Xbox One Series X.
The first series of the X's, that's what I have, is like a day one edition. I had a day one edition of the Xbox One too.
No, I don't care. I don't game enough to make it worthwhile for me to go out and spend a boatload of money on consoles. So
no, I do. Especially with Battlefield coming out October 10th. Woo!
I have 5 kids. I ain't got time for that shit.
You can make time. You can make time.
No.
Shut up, children. You're bothering me. I'm gaming.
No, I really can't because all
of my children are teenagers, so I can totally do that. My kids are also gamers, by the way. Like my 16-year-old that was being a giant pain in my ass earlier, she's a gamer. Now, granted, she's a chick gamer. Staring judgily. She plays like Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley and Roblox and like the lame, like. Speaking of gaming, I just saw, by the way, just as a quick aside, that EA has officially killed off Need for Speed.
Well, that's sad.
It's very sad. It's an end of an era, man. I grew up on Need for Speed. My love of cars is the reason why I buy exotics and I race, and I do a lot of that kind of comes from Need for Speed and playing Need for Speed.
First Need for Speed game I ever played was Hot Pursuit.
I loved Hot Pursuit. I played
that game for hours.
The relaunch of Hot Pursuit was awesome too. It was great. The online game where you could play as the cops or as the ones being chased and everything, and it was like kind of open worldy, and it was a blast. It was so much fun. I love Need for Speed, but they killed it, and they killed it because they went away from what made Need for Speed so great, which was like it's arcadey racing action, and they started trying to do like with, if you haven't seen the newest one is like almost comic booky, and it's stupid, and it's trying to be all visually like it. I don't like it at all. I actually despise it, and everyone else did too, which is why they killed it off. But anyway, I digress. My point is that tariffs hurt you. They are hurting you, and all of you idiots who keep going, oh, but the tariffs are for the no. They hurt you.
They serve no purpose other than to extract more money out of you, essentially. Because yes, the companies that are paying the tariffs, the companies that are doing the imports are paying the tariffs. That's 100% true. But if you think for 1 second you're not paying that difference per item, you're deluding yourself.
And it would be entirely different if America had the manufacturing infrastructure and that just wasn't getting utilized enough, right? But we don't. We do not have a manufacturing infrastructure. Again, we don't even know how to do tool and die. We don't know how to make the shit that makes the shit. Okay? We don't know how to do that anymore. There are no, and I mean no, and I had to double check this when I heard this number and start just hunting, and it's true. There are no tool and die courses in any tech school in the United States.
Holy shit.
None. Absolutely none. Fun fact, there is also only 2 technical schools in the United States who offer appliance repair courses.
Well, it's because everything's made so cheap now anyway. It's the throw it away, get a new one.
It's not, though. You could easily repair that stuff. Easily. I do it all the time. But I had to teach myself.
I'm not saying you can't repair it. What I'm saying is the economy as a whole has become such a discarding economy. You buy something, it breaks, buy new one.
And it's about to face, with the way things are going, it is about to reap the rewards of that.
Yeah.
Same shit that hurt Rome. It's the fall of Rome, but with Wi-Fi. Speaking of the fall of Rome, but with Wi-Fi, and absolute insanity that is happening. Do we want to talk about? I really want to talk about this. I have to talk about this because it's something I'm very, very passionate about. We are going to talk about Petra.
Petra?
Okay? Petra. If you're unfamiliar with Petra, have you seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
Not for a long time.
Do you remember the giant stone temple that they walk into to go find the Grail? The front of it. It's carved directly into the stone face itself. Okay, well, that is a real place, and it is called Petra, which is Greek for rock. Fun fact. It is an entire city that was carved into the rock faces in a very narrow canyon. An entire city.
Okay.
There are, outside of the ancient city, which was inhabited by the Nabateans. Now you know. History time. The Nabateans built Petra. They were in the center of a major trade network on the spice roads and things that went to ancient Egypt, ancient Rome.
It's been a long time since I've talked about it. But yeah, it's coming back to me now.
So the Nabateans, eventually, they kind of disappear. A lot of stuff, blah, blah, blah. I could go on and on about the Nabateans and how fascinating their civilization is, how it developed, everything. But what's important is that the ancient Bedouins who inhabit that area now...
You mean aliens?
No. Bedouins.
I'm kidding. I'm talking about the Nabateans and, oh, no ancient humans could possibly have made that.
Oh, yeah, they never could have possibly figured out how to hit a piece of sandstone with a harder rock and carve it. That definitely is the thing that they
never would have
figure out how to
small piece of granite and gone. Unlike every kid since time immemorial. Oh, look, sandstone, sidewalk chalk.
Yeah, exactly. But the Bedouins who have moved into that area after the collapse of Nabatean civilization over time, blah, 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 Spice Road, yada, 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 right? The Bedouins moved in there several thousand years ago and have been living in caves in a similar way to what the Nabateans did in the area of Petra since.
Yeah, if I remember right, the cistern system that they had for retaining rainwater during the wet season was awesome.
Yes, it's actually incredible. Incredible. Most of the engineering in Nabatean cities is incredible. But anyway, these people live in caves, right? This is what they do. They carve into the rock. They create an in-rock home, just as their very, very ancient ancestors did, who ultimately made it super elaborate because they encountered the Greeks, yada, yada, and made Petra. Anyway, they went back to doing it with just caves, right? And making caves. And they have been living there for thousands of years. And now the government wants to evict them all because their presence ruins the visual aesthetic of an abandoned city for tourists.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I don't see this one on the list.
It is. By noon, the sun is high over Petra, bleaching the colored sandstone cliffs and temporarily emptying its celebrated ruins of tourists. Vines in a canopy keep the terrace of Muhammad Faras's cave home cool, despite the searing summer heat rising from the rocky valley. Quote, I've lived here all my life. I've never been anywhere else, and I cannot imagine not living here. This area is part of who I am, and I cannot leave it, the 44-year-old farmer and sometime tourist guide said. Within months, Faris and dozens of other Bedouins from the Bedouin community are likely to have left the caves they call home. There's little place for them in Petra as it is transformed by a major development program that aims to build new facilities, regulate an anarchic tourist trade, and provide a better experience for the hundreds of thousands of visitors drawn to the ancient site. Frass's home, which he shares with his wife and 9 children, comprises 4 connected 2,400-year-old caves and an adjoining tent. Just a 10-minute walk away from the remains of Petra's Grand Temple and its colonnaded main street, it is also just a short hike from the monument known as the Treasury, made famous by the 1989 blockbuster Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The caves, occupied by the Bedul, were originally an integral part of a wealthy trading city, the thriving capital of the Nabateans for 500 years before it was annexed by the Romans in around AD 100 and eventually abandoned 3 centuries later. International human rights campaigners have called on Jordanian authorities to halt looming evictions. Quote, Jordan's displacement of the Bedul from their historic homes in Petra puts their culture at risk, said Adam Kugel, a Middle East and North Africa deputy director at Human Rights Watch. The Jordanian government should halt the relocations and respect the rights of Petra's Bedouin community. Yeah, because they were there long before you decided to start turning it into a fucking tourist trap, you assholes.
That's a big part of it. The other thing is the Bedouins have been some of the strongest voices for continued archaeological excavation of the Petra ruins and all of that. They want to know more. The Jordanians don't want further excavation because they want to leave it as it is to entice tourism.
Not long ago, Force Galante actually helped contribute to a major excavation as part of Expedition Unknown at Petra, and they found a bunch of ritually buried bodies right by the front of the treasury. Super cool. Go look that up. Expedition Unknown. Officials charged with the management and development of Petra say the Bedul who still live on the site are there illegally. Eye roll. They contend that many have alternative accommodation at their use of the caves as homes, animal shelters, shops, and storerooms, risks causing irreparable harm. They live there. If we want to preserve the integrity of the site for future generations, then we have to stop the use of the caves for damaging activities.
They live in harmony with their environment. Why they have no incentive to cause cause damage to anything.
Well, and even if they don't, right, because they're worried about the caves themselves, because these were originally Nabatean caves that they're living in. People keep living in places for a very long time, and each new occupation adds to the story of that place. If you wanted to perfectly preserve every archaeological site in the world, no one would basically be allowed to live anywhere.
Well, we'd all have to leave the planet, go somewhere else, and then discover that we're ruining the archaeological significance of that planet.
Yeah, because now, this was an ancient alien civilization here, and now we can't let people live for the love of God. You know what happens? You know what happens when we build roads in Wisconsin, right? Like, you live in Wisconsin, right? It just happened a few years ago when we expanded the road in Onalaska, right? When 2nd Street in Onalaska got expanded. What did they do? They did an archaeological survey. First, they found evidence of a massive, never before discovered permanent settlement of natives along the riverbank that we had never seen before. No one's ever seen anything like it. They documented it all. They dug the entire thing, meaning they had collected every piece of archaeological anything that they could from it. And then they went, okay, we're done. And then they built the road.
Yep.
Anyway, everyone in the site, whoever they are, has to abide by the law, and is illegal for anyone to live in or use the archaeological monuments within the site of Petra for whatever purposes. Historians, however, say the Bedul have lived in Petra's caves for about 200 years. Efforts to remove the community from the site began shortly after its classification by the United States as a World Heritage Site in 1985. Fuck the UN. Then, in a deal negotiated with community leaders, thousands of people were moved to a purpose-built village nearby. Some evaded the relocation or have since moved back to their cave homes. Because it's where they prefer to live, just like the Nabateans. You know why the Nabateans did it? Because it's a real nice place to live when you live in the middle of a fucking desert.
because it's naturally cool.
It's cool. It's comfortable.
I'm going to steal a line here from a comedian. He did a show at a racetrack in the middle of the desert in Saudi Arabia. Everybody thinks everybody in Middle East is terrorist. Everybody in Middle East is angry. He's angry. He's angry. He's a terrorist. He's a terrorist. My friend, it's hot. You put me in air conditioning. I'm so happy. That's what the caves are.
Yeah, I'm so angry because it's really miserable here. These people, so 200 years that they've actively been living on this site, but the Bedouins have been living in this area forever, right? They're descendants of Nabateans.
And if they've been living there for over 200 years, that means that even the Muslim caliphate of the Ottoman Empire didn't bother them.
Yeah, just left them there.
Yeah.
In recent years,
they're not a problem.
Yeah, with tourism a major contributor to Jordan's flagging economy, big investments have been made at Petra. There was a new museum, cultural village, and network of walking trails. Hundreds of stalls that choke the site have been cleared away, as have guides who harassed visitors. An effort has been made to cut down on overnight stays in caves being offered to tourists on social media or popular booking sites. Well, that's some bullshit. The new campaign to clear the caves began in late 2024 and targeted a dozen or so extended families now living around the Suta al-Nabi Harun mountain. The Jordanian authorities have been accused by campaigners of using coercive tactics. You don't say.
It's almost like that's a government fallback.
Yeah. Ferris, who earns a thin living from farming goats and sheep and occasionally acting as a guide, has rejected an offer from authorities of a house in the village where other Bedouil from Petra are now living. He said he was sent to prison earlier this year for failing to pay a heavy fine for destroying a heritage site. He was released after 2 weeks, but now faces a new court hearing. Quote, "It's ridiculous to accuse us of damaging the caves," Ferris said. "We are their guardians. We are not destroying anything. We just live the way we have lived for hundreds of years." Yassin Ahmed, one of Farah's neighbors, has said he had also received a court summons as well as fines totaling tens of thousands of dollars, which he too will never be able to pay. "I just don't have that kind of money. I am not wealthy," he said. "I grew up here and I don't know anything else. I can survive in a house in a village. I can't survive in a house in a village. They are offering only a very small house, but I have 10 children. The tourist trade in Jordan has been badly hit by the war in Gaza, with the number of visitors in Petra falling dramatically. The Bedouil, who made a living from guiding tourists or selling souvenirs or soft drinks, have lost much of their income. And it's part of the trip there. If you've never been to Petra, I highly recommend going. It's part of their trip there. It's such a Middle Eastern feel. You get the bazaar that you walk through, with everybody trying to hawk goods and everything, and all the smells and the sights and the sounds. And it's part of the experience. It's part of the experience being an exotic land, seeing an exotic thing. This is part of the experience. It's time immemorial. This is part of that experience.
That's one of the things I've always kind of wanted to experience is the Middle East bazaar.
They're amazing. You go to some of them, like where they have a lot of spices and the smell is amazing. If you could just bottle that smell somehow, oh God, all those spices together and just it's and the food cooking and oh man, some of the best roasted goat you've ever had, some great lamb, Anyway,
Andrew's over there salivating and coming all at the same time.
I oh God, it's so good. Lamb's one of my favorite foods. I love lamb. I like goat slightly less, but I love lamb.
If you really like lamb, I have an Amish friend I can get you in touch with.
If they will sell me lamb for way less than I have to pay in a supermarket, which is ridiculous for lamb, I'm very happy to buy large amounts of lamb. I love lamb.
If you bought a whole lamb that you were going to cut up yourself, probably sell it to you for like $3.50 a pound on the hoof.
That sounds like an awful lot of work that I could probably just pay someone else to do for me. But yeah. I
have a wife who does butchering too, just saying.
See, there you go. But anyway, this goes on and on about how horrible what they're doing is. The gist of it though is these people have been here forever. Like they're the descendants of other people. And like they said, like, we're not ruining the caves. We're living in them exactly the way the Nabateans did. We're protecting them. What the fuck? Leave us alone.
And what the Kingdom of Jordan, as it's currently called, or currently known as what, 80 years old?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, it's not super old because it's
So
I think it's in the 90s now.
is it part of Sykes-Picot after World War One?
I feel like it is. I'd have to double check, but I think it actually is.
So it's between 80 and 100. Let's call it 80 and 100 years old. These people, these Bedouins that have been living in these caves, their families, their ancestors have been living in these caves for at least 200 years, probably longer.
Yeah.
And if the Ottomans weren't willing to fuck with them because they're not hurting anything, then what the fuck?
And it's, and here's the thing, like if you go to Egypt and you go on a dig in Egypt, like none of you can because you have to be invited and you probably won't be, but having been on a dig in Egypt, the workers are all locals. Okay.
Right.
Everybody, all the workers are locals, and they're usually generational Egyptian dig workers. Like their fathers did it, their grandfathers did it, maybe their great grandfathers did it. Right. Fun fact, the first Egyptologist, like who is like an archaeologist in Egypt, was actually an ancient Egyptian pharaoh. That's how long Egypt lasted. I shit you not. But dude was I think it was even New Empire. I don't think it was even, or New Kingdom. I don't even think it was Ptolemaic. I think it was New Kingdom, and he was digging sites from the Old Kingdom.
That shit's hilarious.
Because there's 1,500 years between those two. So, but anyway, this is the thing is those workers are all locals, right? And they value that heritage, that this is my country's heritage. This is where I live's heritage. They value it. They are very proud to be part of it. They're very proud to be part of revealing the past and doing these things. Like, this is important to them because this is the story of where they live. This is the story of them. And it's the same thing with these Bedouins, and Bedouins are amazing people. I fucking love the Bedouins. They can be fierce enemies if they have to be, but I tell you what, I have never met another group of people who take guest right so seriously.
Take what so seriously?
Guest right.
Oh.
If you are their guest, it is their obligation to take care of you. It is their obligation to make you happy. Anything you want, you get. They also are obligated to protect you. That's actually why Marcus Luttrell survived, was guest right. Lone survivor, to those of you who are not familiar with who I'm talking about. That's why he survived, because guest right. Because he was a guest in that village. He was a guest in that man's house, and therefore they were obligated to protect him with their lives. That is what guest right is. The Bedouins are amazing at it. They're absolutely fantastic. You ever get a chance to stay with some Bedouins, definitely do that. You will not be disappointed. It will be fantastic. The food you will have will be fantastic. The treatment you will get will be amazing. They're incredible people. I absolutely love the Bedouins. But these people are just living their lives, and because of tourism, they're going to be thrown out.
You know, because of where I live, I've taken to calling tourism terrorism.
Hey man, I was a local to the Dells. You don't have to tell me twice.
Dude, I live less than 10 minutes from the Dells.
Yeah, I lived in the Dells, man. I lived in the Dells. I worked in the Dells. I went to high school there. Like, I know.
Yeah, you primarily dealt with a lot of fibs. And ironically, also a lot of H-1Bs, since we talked about that tonight too.
Well, they weren't an H-1B. They were the other one. I can't remember what it is, but they were
H3B
Russian
or something like that.
They're mostly Russians.
Oh, see, now most of your tourism workers down there, they're not Russians anymore. They're almost all
Poles,
dots, not feathers.
Well, there was a lot of Poles at the end there. A lot more Poles, but a lot of Russians, Czechs, Ukrainians. Anyway, Water park capital of the world, a whole bunch of Slavic women. What do you want from me?
As a kid, as a high school kid, I remember. Do you remember? You used to get a free entrance to Waterworld with a Pepsi can.
They still do that for Noah's Ark.
Right. What I'm talking about is Waterworld, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
It's
they did that for Wildcat Mountain too, which doesn't exist anymore. Wildcat Mountain is now integrated into Mount Olympus.
Yep.
And for a while, when I was in high school, the Wildcat Mountain facility was still there, right near where that BP is, kind of up on the hill overlooking the turn to go to the Strip. And the ruins were still there, and we used to race mini bikes around in the middle of the night until the cops would show up, and then we'd take off and disappear into the night, allegedly. But
pretty sure the statute of limitations has run out on that one.
Probably, but allegedly. Okay, so we're basically out of time, so I want to run through a couple of real quick. The Grease Pirates thing is hilarious. There are thieves stealing cooking oil in the Twin Cities.
I mean, it makes sense.
It does. It's actually valuable because it gets turned into biodiesel and is worth about 40 cents a pound. So crackheads are now not stealing copper because that would be dangerous because they get electrocuted. They're draining the used oil containers of restaurants in the Twin Cities to then resell the oil for use to be turned into biofuel.
Which it's actually a really simple process. I don't know if you've ever seen what a simple waste oil or waste cooking oil setup looks like. But it's essentially, it looks like a reverse osmosis water filtration system for the house. Only it uses gigantic canister filters like you'd see on a semi. And it runs it through and runs it through and runs it through. And then it runs it through another scrubber or heats it up again to try to get things to mix in again. And then you run it through another series of filters. And it's basically ready to use as biodiesel at that point. Yeah,
it's kind of neat. That article, if you get a chance, and of course, as always, all of the links are in the description. This one is great because their justifications. Well, recycling the oil is really important because it stops it from, poisoning our water supplies, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, do you think the people stealing this are just dumping it?
Right?
Hell no. You're just mad because the companies that were getting paid to dispose of it are not getting it now.
Not only that, they're mad because the companies that they were paying to dispose of it, they're now realizing that those companies were making money on both ends.
Yes.
They're getting paid to take the oil, and then they're getting paid to sell it for biodiesel.
So here's the thing, right? And this is why I wanted to bring it. One, because it's absurd. Fucking Grease Pirates, okay, is nuts.
Well,
what a time to be alive.
It's been going on for years.
But I also want to point out, though, and I want to point out very importantly here, but are they stealing? It was garbage. You were going to pay someone to dispose of it for you.
No.
Is it stealing?
I mean, technically,
the people that you were going to pay to dispose of it hadn't taken ownership yet. It wasn't theirs, and you were just throwing it away. You're paying them for disposal.
Yes, but even like your garbage cans, technically the stuff that's in your garbage cans, until you roll them out to be collected, that's still your property.
Right, but for instance, let's say it's a dumpster, right? Sure. And somebody has thrown a bunch of things away in the dumpster, and the dumpster is placed in a place for where the truck has access to it, right? Legally, in the United States, that is considered putting the garbage out. Which means if I come and I dumpster dive and I grab your stuff, you can't do anything about it because I'm not doing anything illegal. Because this was waste and I'm simply collecting your waste. I'm allowed to do that. Whether or not it's been wheeled out to a curb is irrelevant. It was in a position, it was in a place from which it was meant to be collected by a disposal vehicle. So, I don't think what they're doing is technically theft. I don't have a problem with what they're doing, to be honest, and I would prefer.
No, I don't have a problem with what they're doing, not by any stretch.
I'd prefer that crackheads do this, and then they resell the used grease to people who are going to turn it into biodiesel. I'm all about that, man. Go for it. That's a wonderful idea. Do that. In fact, found your own company to do the disposal and start lowballing everyone else's bids on it. Hooray!
And then once everybody else is bid out of the freaking system, congratulations, you now own the corner of the market. Raise your prices.
And now you're making money legitimately. Hooray, crackheads. You're now making money legitimately again. It's come.
And you'd probably be able to afford 3 times the crack. I mean,
I don't know that I would support that, but you can afford treatment for your crack addiction now.
You know what? I'm not here to judge. If you want to ruin your life and kill yourself prematurely by smoking too much crack because you can afford to do so, you know what? It's like the garbage took itself out. So you do you, boo-boo.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Also, I want to mention, I have on here band from Canada. One of my favorite bands, Kneecap. They are an Irish language rap group. They're absolutely amazing. I love them. They are banned from Canada now because a few months ago, one of the members, Makara, held up a Palestinian flag at a concert. As a result of that, he was being investigated for terrorism charges by the UK. And as a result of that, the entire band is now banned from Canada.
Wait, they were on stage?
Yes.
At an event in Canada?
No, in the UK.
Oh, they're at an event in the UK.
Yes.
And while standing on stage, one of the band members held up a Palestinian flag.
A Palestinian flag was thrown onto stage. He picked it up and he expressed words in support of the Palestinian people.
And now he is banned from Canada, a country which, along with the UK and Australia, have formally acknowledged as of today
Palestinian
is
statehood.
in fact its own state.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure I had that correct.
Yep. You're following.
So as of today, Canada, the UK, and Australia have formally acknowledged the Palestinian state.
Yes.
And this band is banned from Canada for supporting a state that the Canadian government recognizes as a state.
Yes, and because in a concert he expressed support for a state that the UK government itself now acknowledges as a state. He is under terrorism charges. Because it's not about Palestine. It's not about the
Israel.
Palestinians. No. It's about Ireland. They're an Irish language band that raps and sings in Irish.
Yeah, I was going to say the IRA. I was going to say the IRA and the Palestinians kind of had a little kumbaya going on during the Troubles.
Yes. Well, they still do. The IRA and the PLO. Yes. But this is, yeah. So you are following correctly.
I'm trying to do the gymnastics in my head, but I can't get my head that far up my own ass to see it from their perspective.
Make it make sense. Yeah, I know. Isn't that fun? Yeah.
Going along with the whole biodiesel thing, Campbell's soup.
Yeah,
that
Campbell's
shit was
soup admitted to dumping an enormous amount of pollutants into the river.
They admitted to dumping waste into the Maumee River, violating the Clean Water Act 5,400 times.
Yes.
over a 6-year period.
Yes, 5,400 times. The company, however, released a statement last Tuesday refuting the negative effects on the water. The company said its Napoleon facility is a permitted point source to discharge phosphorus into the river. You know, that thing that's associated with algae blooms that kill everything?
Phosphorus.
The company also cited a
The
report
thing
by
that
the
blue-green algae absolutely loves.
Yes. A joint stipulation and liability requires Campbell, a subsidiary of Campbell Soup Company, to agree not to assert any defense to liability for the violation and admit the citizens group were harmed, allowing them the legal right to sue for enforcement of the Clean Water Act alongside the government.
So I have a theory. I'm having a thought here. If you're a company that produces enough phosphorus waste where you would violate the Clean Water Act 5,400 times in 6 years, what happens when you have water with contaminants in it and then you boil the water?
You do not do anything to the contaminants.
The water boils off, it's clean, and the contaminants stay behind, right?
Yep.
Phosphorus has a number of industrial and defense technology uses.
Depending on the type of phosphorus, yes.
Well, yes, but if it's elemental phosphorus, it has defense applications. And even if it's not elemental phosphorus, if it's ionic phosphorus, there are still technological applications for that phosphorus.
Yeah, they dumped wastewater containing phosphorus, ammonia, E. coli bacteria, oil, and grease, suspended solids, and other harmful pollutants into the Maumee River, which connects directly to Lake Erie.
So grease, we've already talked about. That could be used as biodiesel. Oil can, depending on the type of oil, can be recycled and reused for other applications. E. coli, that just fucking nasty. Ammonia, if you can separate it out, congratulations, you have Windex. I'm just saying, you can recycle 99% of that on the relatively cheap.
But it costs money, whereas dumping it into a river is free.
Not once the EPA gets a hold of you.
Well, not now, but it was. Yeah, so Campbell's wholesome, isn't it? I also mentioned 2 men allegedly placed an incendiary device under the vehicles of a Fox affiliate. They've been arrested.
They were celebrating that other Muslim holiday, Kaboom.
The one, so we're over time, but the one that I really, really, really want to talk about. I want to talk about this because it is the most ridiculous thing, and I've saw nobody else talking about this.
Junk food ban?
No, not the junk food ban. Junk food ban, if anyone's wondering, that happened in the county that Jason lives in. Basically, there is a ban where you're not allowed to put junk food in the impulse buy aisles by registers anymore, which is ridiculous because, again, nanny state. It's California.
You want to talk about the vape rules?
No, I want to talk about the MMA gold, or the MMO gold.
MMO gold.
This is ridiculous. Try and keep up with me here, folks. Illegal MMO gold sellers earns nearly $500,000, becomes a tax issue, and days later, devs announce plans to curb real-world trading. Old school RuneScape.
What?
Lithuanian gold farmers, I'm not making this up, aren't tax exempt, it appears, while RuneScape law is pretty clear about it. Gold all doth lure, gold doth secure all things, but alas, we poor. So begins a recent opinion from EU Advocate General Kokot, who faced an unusual situation in a file released on September 11th. Lithuanian gold farmers trading ill-gotten gold in the MMO RuneScape, it's unclear if RuneScape and or old school RuneScape specifically are implicated, tried to argue they should be exempt from normal taxes. Buckle up, folks, because we're about to litigate gold sellers. Selling gold is flat out illegal under RuneScape law, but not actually illegal under real world laws, so it's trickier than it sounds.
Okay, first off, I didn't realize RuneScape was still a game.
And it is. This is why I wanted to talk about this. This is
I remember playing
insane...
RuneScape. I remember playing RuneScape on the Java web applet that loaded in your web browser 20 years ago.
It still exists.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, buckle up, because this is fucking weird, okay? If you have stayed past the 2-hour mark, or maybe this is the beginning of part 2 of this episode, buckle up, kids, because we're going on a fucking ride.
The 2-hour limit on Rumble has gone away. We can do more.
Okay, well, buckle up, kids. We're going on a ride. In the present case, the court has an opportunity to deal with the way in which an entirely new form of gold trading is considered for VAT, value-added tax purposes. The opinion reads, a taxable person has managed to, quote, turn to gold, a currency designed for an online computer game, in-game gold, outside the game by purchasing it from players and reselling it to others. The gold resellers in question were, quote, trying to convince the tax authority that RuneScape Gold is either an exempt currency transaction or at least a multi-purpose voucher. This voucher status could affect how much tax is applied and when it comes due under the VAT directive. The operation is described as buying and selling gold, posting on various forums, groups, and platforms such as Facebook, Discord, and Skype, where most people play online games. An advertisement is created to announce that in-game gold is for sale, indicating prices and contacts. An inspection showed that this operation earned, quote, significant income, end quote, between 2021 and 2023, totaling 415,484 euro.
About 488,000 US dollars by current conversions.
2021 was an especially strong year at 199,580 euro.
So they essentially made roughly $500,000 by selling virtual currency for real money.
Yes. This article, I encourage you to read it. It gets a little complex, but basically what was happening is, so these players within RuneScape approach other players and go, hey, you have a bunch of gold. I would like to purchase. And when I say gold, I mean in-game gold.
Not physical gold.
Yeah. I wish to purchase this gold from you. They, outside of the game, send money like Venmo, Cash App, whatever the fuck, the money to this player in exchange for the player transferring them within the game their gold. They then take that gold, increase the price, and resell it again outside the game for more money than they bought it for. This is what's happening. Okay. Again, we're talking about RuneScape. Fucking RuneScape.
That's the part. I think that's the part of this whole thing that just throws me for a loop, is that we're talking about fucking RuneScape.
Here's the issue.
A game that's basically the predecessor to both Roblox and Minecraft. In my mind, RuneScape would be the parent game.
Yes,
both
and it
of
is.
Those titles.
But because they made a net profit and it was across lines of countries within the EU, it is therefore a currency exchange and a net gain of profit, and therefore the EU wants to tax it.
Because it's a game transaction. I mean, how is it any different than, say, a microtransaction for Roblox, Minecraft, etc.?
Because this is not happening between the company, which is going to pay taxes, and an individual. This is between individual players, and the private parties are making a net gain doing this in real world currency. This is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's fucking RuneScape. This is what is RuneScape? 128-bit?
If that.
It's like a 128-bit game. Like, if it's old school RuneScape, we're talking about a game on the graphics level of Diablo. Not Diablo 2, not Diablo 3, not Diablo 4. Diablo.
No, it's not even on that level. It doesn't make the graphics level of Diablo. If I remember, well, I mean, let me rephrase that. It's old school RuneScape was more like Roblox.
Yeah, but that's still, I mean, graphical fidelity, that's, yeah, okay, it is true 3D rather than sprite-based, but still, it's pretty damn close. So, like, we're talking about a game, still, we're talking about an MMO. Yet again, MMOs and currency exchange become a controversial topic for governments, right? Like, this is not the first time this has happened. This is not the second time this has happened. This keeps happening. And it's because people are exchanging real world currency for in-game currency. The first time that I can think of where this became a major topic was actually, oh God, what's the name of that? EVE Online. On EVE Online, if you're unfamiliar with EVE Online, please don't go play it. It will eat your entire life. Don't do that.
It wasn't, I mean, EVE Online was the first one, but I mean, it became even more prevalent and mainstream with WoW.
Yeah, but like EVE Online is special because like there are people who literally work like real world jobs within the game.
Yeah, that's true.
And they get paid like real world money. Like their full-time job is within that game. Right? Like it's kind of a cyberpunk dystopian future kind of thing. But like that actually happens. People are working real world jobs within this game. And because they are, the question became, well, do they have to pay income tax? And is the company that is employing them responsible for becoming an actual company? Even though everything that exists within the game.
Yeah.
And so far, most of those lawsuits still are bouncing back and forth, last I heard, over that. But this is another one where, again, the internet of everything becomes confusing to governments, which are very, very slow and ill-equipped to adapt to technology.
Right.
And so they're going, but you need to pay taxes. And the people are going, but I didn't actually exchange anything. I exchanged an idea. That's what I did for money. I got an idea, a concept, a set of ones and zeros in exchange for money. And then I sent those to someone else in exchange for more money than I did have. I didn't exchange a good or a service.
Right.
So like, and it's, of course, Lithuanian gold farmers, Lithuanian gold farmers.
I mean, leave it to Eastern Europe to come up with some shit like that.
Yeah, it's fucking weird, but I wanted to talk about it because essentially what they're doing is they are changing one currency to another very, very easily, in and out, and like that's essentially what part of the argument is that the gold is in fact a currency, and therefore they're doing currency exchange, and they need a license for that. And then the other argument is, well, if you're not doing currency exchange, then you're selling a good, and therefore you need to pay VAT tax.
Well, and the thing is in the event that that the courts determine that this is a currency exchange, that means that there has to then be set up a global market for an exchange rate of Roblox gold versus XYZ fiat currency.
Well, not Roblox gold, but RuneScape, but
Yeah,
yes.
RuneScape gold. So you would have to then start doing that with literally every video game where there is a monetary value placed on the in-game currency. Yeah. And then like items can be purchased for their gold value, which you then have to pay as taxes on a currency exchange based on the in-game monetary value. And oh man.
Yeah, this is the ridiculous. This is why I wanted to talk about this, because I haven't seen anyone else talk about it and like mention it in any other podcast or anything else. And this is the hard hitting journalism you come to us for, folks. Old school RuneScape. Gold. I was going to say
this and the obligatory stripper articles.
Yeah, the Lithuanian gold salesman in RuneScape. These are the things you want to hear about. But
Jesus Christ.
This is I thought it was a super interesting concept, a super interesting article. It's super weird. I thought it was nifty and a fun thing to talk about. Again, the link to that article, if you want to read the whole thing in depth and try and break down in your mind exactly what's going on and what the arguments are and what the legal stuff is and everything, that's all broken down in that article that we have a link to in the description for
one additional article that we didn't get to that I'm just going to briefly touch on is a big booty Latina getting her backside pierced by a metal rod while she's driving down a freeway in California.
New Final Destination fear unlocked. Yes. Her booty was stabbed by a piece of metal that came through her fucking car. And like there's a picture of it in the article. You can see this chunk just sliced right up through one of the cheeks, man.
Yep. And if you happen to be from Wisconsin, you are well aware that vape shops are currently going through a hard time because the state of Wisconsin passed a law that says unless you are a big tobacco company, a trusted big tobacco company, you can't sell vape products in the state of Wisconsin.
Which is ironic considering that Juul, which is made by Big Tobacco, is the one that keeps getting busted for having non-inhalant safe toxins and things in their vapes. But see, that's the thing. Like I brought up before when I talked about this originally, that they had less than 30 days to comply back a month ago. I talked about this. The reality is that this is not about anyone's safety. This is not about anyone's health. This is about protecting Big Tobacco.
It's a corruption case. That's exactly what it is. It's 100% a corruption case.
Yes, this is about protecting Big Tobacco, and it is destroying local businesses, destroying small businesses, family-owned businesses, little tiny single-person-owned businesses. This is destroying them. Having been, because I'm a vapor, having been to a couple of vape shops recently here in town, they have like 2 products on their shelves right now.
And that's probably because it's all old stock that they still had from before the ban.
Nope, because that would be illegal to sell. That's $1,000 a day fine.
Jesus.
If they have that for sale. Per individual item, it's $1,000 a day. So that is all the FDA approved stuff. So they have stuff from like 3 companies. They have the 4 flavors that those 3 companies make. And that's what you got to choose from right now. That's it. Nothing else.
Now what happens if you go across the river?
Right now, so the tobacco and vape shop in La Crescent has like 2 products, but that's because that's all they ever ordered in.
Does Minnesota have a similar law?
Nope, not yet, because nothing happens until next year on a federal level. This is just Wisconsin who tucked this in to a budget bill very quietly on page like 54. A single sentence in paragraph 137 said, by the way, this is happening, and they told no one about it until someone noticed the same thing having happened in Iowa and had sued and warned Wisconsin to check. And so the vape shops in Wisconsin went and checked the bill and then discovered it and had less than 30 days to comply by the time it was discovered, and there's a pending lawsuit over it.
Passed in 2023, prohibits all vape shops in Wisconsin from selling any product not already approved by the FDA. So it had to have been approved by the FDA prior to the passage of the law.
Yep. Or needs to get approved and get full approval. So there are like 3 companies that have it.
And they're all big tobacco.
No, they're not all big tobacco. There are 2 independent ones. But all of the stuff that Big Tobacco had already complied. So outside of Big Tobacco, there's like 3 companies, is what I'm saying.
Gotcha. Milwaukee had 530 stores that sell vape products, all of which must now clear out illegal inventory or face fines of $1,000 per day. The only products
$1,000 per item per day.
The only products allowed under the new law are Juuls and Vuses, which were described as the least popular offering on the market.
Yep, Juuls and Views. And guess who owns Juuls? Philip Morris. Guess who owns Views? R.J. Reynolds.
They're going to give you cancer one way or the other.
Their flavors are shit, and they're full of mystery things. Reputable juice companies will tell you exactly what's in their juice. Guarantee that it's inhalant safe. A few years ago, when vape companies discovered that cinnamon or whatever that they're using for cinnamon flavor in vapes is not, in fact, inhalant safe, as had previously been believed, they all pulled it immediately because they went, oh, God, we don't want to make our customers sick.
Right.
And all of this shit is happening because of not legal vape companies who were adhering to things and being reasonable. It's happening because of already illegal on a federal level and many state levels vape carts for THC that were giving people lipid pneumonia because they were putting extra additives into their vape cartridges. They were underground. They were illegal anyway. Yes, they're underground and illegal anyway. And those were causing issues. And as a result, what did the government do? It went, hey, well, those are already illegal. Let's make other stuff that isn't making people sick illegal. Because adults shouldn't be allowed to enjoy themselves. We all need to be miserable, all in 1984.
A lot of this sounds an awful lot like things we've talked about before when it comes to, I don't know, gun control.
Oh, yeah, gun control, prohibition, it's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, the last one that we haven't really talked about is the dude who tried to run people down because with his vehicle because this chick wouldn't let him smell her feet. That's, I don't think I need to elaborate. That's fucking ridiculous. We'd laugh about it, but we're kind of out of time.
It's Florida man doing Florida man things.
Yes. All the links to all of the articles are in the description. If you want to read the stuff that we talked about, stuff that we didn't get a really chance to talk about, you can feel free to check all that stuff out. As always, check out Coffee Brand Coffee. Check out Dubby energy drink that uses coffee extract. It's a no crash, no jitter energy drink. It tastes absolutely fantastic. You do not get a crash. You do not get jitters. It is absolutely awesome. I freaking love Dubby. I think they're amazing, and most people that I've had try it also think that it's amazing, are big fans. And if you use my code or the link in the description, you can get a discount, and you can get it for cheaper than it would normally be. Plus, you support the channel. All sorts of cool stuff from them. They also have one that you can mix with milk, by the way. It tastes like s'mores. So you can do like a morning like coffee thing. That's super cool. They're the only ones that I know that are doing that. But yeah, Super cool. Most people that I've talked to that have tried Game Fuel before said that it's way better than Game Fuel. They really prefer the flavors. I'm a huge fan of the solo leveling tie-ins that they have. They're the exclusive energy drink of the solo leveling anime, if you're into that kind of thing. But the solo leveling flavors are phenomenal. If you haven't had them, they are super, super great. Super easy to make. And again, they support the channel, so please support them. Also, check out our boy Dave, poppinspatches.com. He's just released a bunch of new cool ones. He's got so many awesome ones that I want very, very badly, including the Mud Flap Girl ones. He's got the new A10.
I like the new A10s.
All sorts of cool stuff. Definitely check him out there. Super high quality. And he is about to start making patches exclusively, entirely himself in the United States.
I think the A10s are all American, all made by him.
Not the A10s. The very first ones are going to be the like episode 1, like yellow pod racery thing, whatever, Naboo racer thing. Anyway, he's just started doing that, but they are all going to be finally his. So super cool. Everything he's been doing has been super high quality. I love his stuff. Lighter colors do not fade, which is always a problem with PVC patches. And
he makes goofy shit that we suggest from on the show from time to time, like the Jolly Roger Roger.
Yes, the Jolly Roger Roger is one of ours. The Q word, if you check out the Q word, that's one of mine. Always a fun gift to your first responder friends. Definitely do that one. They'll appreciate it. But anyway, yes, definitely do that. I need to get another one of the keywords because I'm going to give one to a buddy of mine that's part of my car group that's actually a cop in Winona. I'm going to give him that one. I'm sure he'll appreciate it and be a very big fan of having that patch in his possession. But yes,
you ever just want to call him while you know he's on shift and say, "Hey, awful quiet tonight, ain't it?"
Yeah, and just hang up. Dude, he'd probably shoot me, and that would be just fine. I'll be honest. At least the tasing would be just fine. I would get that. But I don't even blame him. I'd be like, yeah, that's fair. He makes super high quality patches, and we love Dave and we love what he does, and you should too. You should definitely add as many of his patches as you can to your collection. Also, if you use Abolish ATF, you get 15% off, so definitely do that. Also, RK Spookware, whenever they come back, which they may or may not do. Also, supporter, we have a link. And of course, Lions Not Sheep. Use our link or the code, and you can get a percentage off of Lions Not Sheep. Bunch of other stuff. We have all sorts of codes, links, description, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill. You guys know the drill. And support the people who support us, if you would, please. They're awesome people, and we would really like them to be supported since they support us. So that's all we got for tonight. And we hope that you guys have a good couple more weeks. We'll try and be back in a couple of weeks, depending on where that falls and what we have going on, whatever. I had Mississippi Mayhem last weekend, so I couldn't do anything because I was really busy with hot rods and flamethrowers and rockabilly music and burlesque bingo. So doing all that fun stuff. But yeah, so that's all we got for tonight. Thank you guys for joining us. And for listening, if you made it this far, and hopefully you guys join us for the next one. Peace.
Peace. Whoa.